The next chapter in our Intro to Skinwalkers course is origins, okay? Now, the thing about like Navajo history and culture is you have to be able to speak the language and understand it fluently to hear all the stories that I have, right? Like the elders, they really liked me, you know what I mean? And I was just a little kid, a lot of times, and I think it surprised everyone that like I spoke Navajo and I spoke it well. I was very respectful to my elders, right? My grandma, took me around to all the relatives. As it turns out, a lot of them were medicine men, right? We were very traditional over there on the east side of the reservation growing up. I spent every summer with my grandma, right? Um, she did a great deal of raising me, right? So when I tell you about like these origins, as far back as people talk about or know about is the Great Divide. Now, when I talk about like the origins of a skinwalker, okay, um, don't forget like these are Navajo people, okay. So the origins of like skinwalking have a lot to do with our history. Now, a long time ago, okay, every single Navajo man, Navajo woman, and Navajo child had these skills and these gifts and the power, okay, that medicine men and skinwalkers possess, okay. Like I'm talking like pre-Columbus, all right. If you look at a map of the Native American tribes in North America pre-Columbus, you'll see that the Navajo tribe, or the territories, the Navajo territory was like very small. It was non-existent. If you look at a modern day map, you'll see that we are the largest tribe in the world. Okay, I think that's due in part to the power we have. Right, we were able to use this power to you know escape and evade capture from the conquistadors, the Mexican armies, and the Mayans, and like anybody that would try to come in and enslave us. That's how it was back then, right? And so and this is like before foreign influence, right? We didn't think in terms of like good and evil as Navajo people, okay? Like, and you know, now let's go further back, okay? Um, a real skinwalker, and I'm talking about like as a reference, like if you read the story about the Tower of Babel in the Bible, this is how far back I'm talking, okay? Um, Back then, a Yenat Loshi, right? Yenat Loshi means like he gallops with it, he trots with it, okay? Um, Now the reason why I say that, that's like a literal translation, okay? Modern day words, right? Yenad Loshi, skinwalker, okay? That's why I say like Navajos have skinwalkers, nobody else does, because it came from our translation. Now, but if you were to take the word literally, right? Yenad Loshi, ye doesn't say anything about the skin, okay? It just says with. Nad Loshi. Nad Loshi means like with it, like he not like tratatache, yeah, yeah, tratatache. See, that's like they walk around with it. Okay, natloshi means like to like a horse to kind of like trot along, to gallop along, and it's kind of like it's a stressful term for galloping. Like almost like going through mud. Natlosh, right? Benjitlosh, and natlosh means like it's almost like they're saying like they're galloping through it with mud. Okay, and you know, so like I'm talking about like the first skinwalkers, the Yenadloshis were Navajos that were so in tune with nature and the ebb and flow of the universe that they were so spiritually aware that they knew where tragedy was going to happen before it happened. So, and back then, the homes were different. Okay, they're basically like lean-to structures. We had the hogan. The sound transmission from outside to inside was like, there's no sound barrier basically. And these persons, these Yenadloshis would come by and they'd be outside at night when people were asleep, when they thought people were sleeping, and they'd be like rummaging around and trying to like wondering like why is this going to happen? What's causing it? What's the deal here? And the people inside, they could hear them, and it used to be like Yenadloshis were um they were like they foretold tragic incidences, right? So like they kind of like they were like a what do you call it when you a foreshadowing type thing. They were like they were a warning sign of something evil that was going to happen, right? And as with any race, right? Like time and like interpretation takes over, right? And it became to a point where like people started interpreting the Yenadloshis as them bringing the evil with them and leaving it there, and then something tragic would have happened within the family, right? And then it got to a point where like it was pretty obvious that like foreign influence just wasn't deterred. They weren't going to stop coming, and they started to like talk about what they should do with the power, right? Because like every single man, woman, and child had that power. But like I keep saying, it was only granted to us through God. So like we couldn't allow the power we had, we're keepers of the power essentially. And we're keepers of the land, right? We lived in balance with the ecosystem, right? We didn't, pollution started when, all these people came from outside the country, right? Now, that's not part of that's not what so like, they're like, what do we do? What do we do? And like, there's three different views from what I understand. One view is like, we should do away with it. Okay. Stop teaching it and stop living with it, and just like, eternally progress like we're supposed to. Another faction was saying like, we need to keep these powers because, this is the only thing that's keeping us alive right now. And a third faction was saying the same thing, right? Like, we need to keep these powers because it's the only thing keeping us alive, but like in a medical sense, right? There was no hospitals back then, right? There's no doctors, there's no medicine, right? All we had was like the knowledge we'd have until that point, and a lot of it had to do with like coaxing nature to heal us, right? Because if you hear the story of our emergence onto this planet, you'll realize that we were made from nature, okay? And so like, and like so like and that's where you get medicine men and skinwalkers and then like just Navajos, right? Or right, or the net people, then right? And one faction, they wanted to use it for personal gain, right? They wanted to misuse it and like exploit it for right, and that wasn't what they were saying. But like, it's not hard to tell. The medicine men were like, well, we need these. Like, what if somebody gets hurt and they get sick or whatever? We need this stuff, right? And then so the Great Divide happened, right? Some people like didn't want anything to do with it, and then skinwalkers formed and medicine men happened, and Columbus showed up and things started to change. Religion got here, right? And now you have like what I call modern day skinwalkers and modern day medicine men, okay? And modern day Navajos, okay? Now, a lot of, and then like, in my mind, okay? In my mind, you know, you have to understand I'm not a skinwalker, okay? And the things I'm telling you are a culmination of what all the elders told me, you know? And you have to understand, like, when you speak Navajo at my age, right, it's very, like, unique because we're losing the language. I keep saying that, I can't stress it enough. It's frightening because they can take this land away from us. And if you think about, like, all the things that grow here, all the natural resources we have, right? Like, when you take a biology class, right, the Navajo Nation has one of the, if not the, one of the largest deposits of coal, right? Next to like Antarctica and somewhere on the like the east side of the U.S., right? We have natural gas and oil. It's just we're on the edge of the Colorado Rockies, so we're sitting on like the wise man built his house upon a rock type thing, right? And they want this land, right? When I think about like the reasons why like the pilgrims and all that showed up and what they tell us, they're lying to us, okay? They want this land, right? And they had no intention of like religious freedom, because when you look at like how like these politicians, especially like left leaning politicians, they're trying to like give our power and authority over to people from across the pond, right? The UN, WHO, you get it? G9. And it just doesn't, it's like, I thought you guys came here to get away from those freaks. Why would we want to do anything with them? Right? And they're like, well, we need to be friendly. It's like, well, why aren't we being friends with Russia? Hello, right? Get it? Like they want to like, and it's the whole war concept, right? It's just like, whatever. I digressed. I'm sorry. Now, so the whole Great Divide happened, right? And then religion happened, right? And then like you have modern day Navajos and modern day Skinwalkers, and like when I say like their power is ill-gotten, like to become a Skinwalker, you're supposed to kill someone within your immediate family, like a sacrifice. Now, with the invention of like these electronic devices and the internet and 5G and all and population growth and immigration, I think it's impossible to do that and get away with it. So I'm under the impression that the initiation process has changed, and thereby um the whole like lifestyle around skinwalkers has changed either. I don't think they have the same powers that our ancestors had, okay? I think like the knowledge that's been passed down from generation to generation is still happening, but like they have to adapt to modern times and population growth, and like everyone's got a phone. They're just waiting to record something and put it on TikTok, right? So like I think it's like impossible to like, you know, get real power the real way. So what I refer to as generic power, right? That's what's happening today. And that's what I'm breaking down, right? Because like, and that's why I say my life is in danger, right? Because like, what if like one of these guys is old enough that that's how he got his power, right? And he gets sick of my shit, right? He could very well just take my life like that. At the same time, like you have to understand, like this witchcraft, like I have this big theory that for evil to happen here on earth, you have to consent to it. And they gain our consent through media, right? We see like, all kinds of pedophile activity, and we just like watch it and we give consent to it by not saying anything or doing anything and allowing them to record stuff like that. So like, and that's what the medicine man was telling me, right? I'm not going to give them consent. I'm not going to give them that kind of consent. I refuse to, right? I know what I'm doing is right. And I hope y'all, you know, keep what I'm telling you sacred. And right, and so those are the origins of a skinwalker. Okay, from like you know, from the time we emerged here to pre-Columbus to the Great Divide to modern day. Okay, and what you gotta understand is that these are Navajo Navajo people. Okay, um, no other race possesses the powers we have other than other Native American tribes. You know, they have their own powers and their own stories and their own ceremonies. Sometimes we have to go to them for help, right? Because they have a type of power that we don't have. And sometimes they'll come to us, right? And that's the delicate balance we have as indigenous people in North America, right? That's real community right there. Okay. But, foreign influences has altered our views and the way we think. And, they're trying to, like foreign influences like government and religion, right? They want to control the discussion surrounding like who Native American people are, how they came to be, what their um, history is, right? And what they're about, right? And it's all about control, right? Because that's how they make their money, right? These people don't work, right? They need us to pay taxes or tithing so that they have income, right? They don't put in 8 hours of work every day. That came from General Ford, by the way, or the Ford guy that was the president. That came from him. Um, so I'm going to continue these videos, and like I said, you're getting like stuff that not even like my own brothers and sisters know because they don't know the language, right? And if you think about it, they're going to be the first ones to tell you like, oh, he's wrong. He doesn't. They're going to be like, they'll be the first ones to tell you that when they don't even know the language. And our language is how we pass information down. Like my last name, Dene Yaja, that's like, I know my genealogy all the way up until where our name started, right? And my family don't know that because they don't speak the language, right? My grandma Bessie told me that the last day she was alive, right? Me and my mom picked her up and we do that a lot. We used to do that a lot when she was around, and we take her here and there, and she loved me, man. She really loved me. I was her only grandchild that spoke Navajo, that lived, that understood traditional Navajo life, right? And that valued traditional Navajo life and culture, right? I wasn't like colonized or brainwashed into believing stuff, right? My grandma did a very good job, and my father's mom loved that, and she really gravitated toward that. And like that last day, we were driving her home after we had stopped by Dairy Queen, right? And we're just driving home. She told us the story of where my people came from and how we came to be, the Dene Yaja. And it's like right. And then like we dropped her off, and she went inside and sat down in her favorite chair and took a nap and never woke up. So please take to heart the things I tell you. Okay, it's like hardcore, real Navajo traditional beliefs. Okay, these stories are like they're to be treasured and held with everything you got in your heart, right? And like I said, maybe you can somehow apply this to your life or what you've been thinking, right? And like and realize like we all need to find out where we came from, okay? Because like as things are, right, it's not working, right? And it's because we're going against like who everyone is truly, and I don't think that's what God intended. if you read the story of the Tower of Babel. Get it? See how I use that? Anyway, have a good night.